Welcome to Lessons in Life and Love with Riana Milne, where we show you how to have the positive mindset for success in all life areas. It's time to have the life you desire and the love you deserve.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to show 45 in season 2 of Lessons in Life and Love, brought to you every Friday on the lessonsinlifeandlove.com website and in your favorite app, as well as my app, Lessons in Life and Love on the go. I'm all about helping you transform your life in all areas. So I'll be talking to you about how to have the life that you're passionate about and attract the love that you deserve. I'm on a mad mission to change the way the world loves. So we'll be talking about how to have emotionally healthy, evolved, and conscious love, and how to avoid toxic, painful relationships that seem too prevalent today. It's time to create the life that you desire and have the love that you deserve. So be sure to reach out to me during the week at rianamilne.com and sign up for a Life and Love Transformation Discovery session to meet with me for 1 private hour. So let's dive in, love angels and transformers. Our show features today attorney Roxanne Grobbel, licensed counselor social work, who is a specialist in EMDR. We'll be covering some topics like, how does EMDR work to heal trauma and other conditions such as anxiety? Exactly what is the process of EMDR and how does it help with situations like PTSD? And how can someone receive treatment? Does it have to be in person or can it be virtual? And much more. I'd like to welcome to Lessons in Life and Love, Roxanne Grobbel. Welcome, Roxanne. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
Sure. I'm so glad to have you. Let me tell you, listeners, a little bit about this fabulous woman and all her expertise. Attorney Roxanne Grobbel, licensed counselor social work, has also focused her career on trauma treatment as a certified EMDR therapist and consultant, as well as an infant mental health specialist and registered play therapy supervisor. As an EMDRIA approved trainer of the basic EMDR course and advanced courses, she travels nationally providing workshops for licensed therapists. She also trains professionals in EMDR, play therapy, infant mental health, and trauma at the local, state, and national levels as a guest lecturer at colleges and university. Roxanne's private practice is in Boca, Raton, Florida, and she counsels clients in a number of challenges, including PTSD, anxiety, addiction, food disorders, and a variety of trauma-related problems using different clinical models. She received her law degree from Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan, and has a master's degree in social work from Florida Atlantic University. So welcome again, Roxanne.
Great, thank you.
So we heard your background. What made you specialize in doing EMDR?
I was one who had such a large trauma background, especially childhood trauma. And one of my mentors, Dr. Howard Parad, told me I needed to go and get the EMDR training. And of course, at the time, I didn't even know what EMDR was. So I asked him, what is EMDR? And he said, it's eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. And I thought, what the heck does eye movement have to do with trauma work, right?
Right.
And he explained to me that it was by using eye movement that you bilaterally stimulate the brain while you process trauma. So I rolled my eyes at least once and went to do the trauma training with the EMDR. And it changed the way I practice because the experience I had doing EMDR, even in the training, was just so powerful for myself and for others that I was working with, that I came back and changed my practice and do mostly EMDR now.
That's great. How exactly does EMDR work? If you could explain it to our listeners. I remember when it first came out, it was using a finger, but there's 2 or 3 other methods that you can use in EMDR. Could you explain those?
Sure. Francine Shapiro is the one who developed this process. And she recently, unfortunately, she passed away. But before she did, she said that she would change the name of EMDR because it's so misleading. But originally, it was exactly what you said, following somebody's fingers with your eyes while you think about traumatic memories. And what they realized was by following somebody's fingers and moving your eyes back and forth, you're actually stimulating your brain left and right. And by doing that, it seems to turn on a mechanism within your mind to reprocess memories. Very much like REM sleep. During REM sleep, our eyes move back and forth rapidly.
Right.
And when we wake up in the morning, we often feel better. It takes the time and it reprocesses memories. It puts things away in an adaptive way so they don't bother us anymore.
I hear there's one that you use with buzzing in your hands.
I use the tappers. So what they are, they're just little tappers. They're, you hold them in your hands, or you can tuck them under your knees while you're sitting on a couch or chair, and they vibrate back and forth. They buzz.
Okay.
Some people call them buzzers, but again, it's stimulating you left and right so that the brain lights up left and right. And that, again, turns on that system to allow you to reprocess memories.
That's really fascinating.
I know. It sounds too crazy to work, but it really does.
When this first came out, I'm like, no, I don't want to train in that. I mean, they have no proof. They don't even know how it works. They say it seems to work, but we can't explain why it works. And I'm like, well, until they can explain why it works, I don't want to sign up to learn this. And then I went into other trauma work and got my CCTP and that type of thing.
Today, there are more studies out on EMDR and PTSD than any other modality.
Yeah, it's really fascinating that it works. It's great. And speaking of helping those with PTSD, what other types of trauma or conditions does this help, and how does it help them?
So initially, it was mostly post-traumatic stress disorder. And today we use it for a number of things, including anxiety, depression, addiction issues, relationship issues, eating disorders, cutting, any of the self-harm, and looking at what earlier memories happened to somebody, what earlier events happened, and those memories weren't stored appropriately. So they leave the person with negative beliefs about themselves, overreactions emotionally, and then behavioral responses that are occurring now that they don't even understand are coming from those past events.
Right. That's so typical in my trauma work too, that I work primarily with people of childhood trauma, and they can't understand why it's impacting them so much today in their life relationships. Well, that happened years ago with my father or my mother. Why should that impact me now? It does, because trauma stays stored in the brain and the body cells and DNA, and we have to unlodge it, process it, forgive it, rewrite the story around it, find some good from the bad of the processing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so many times those traumatic memories they're finding now, they're actually stored in implicit memories in areas of the brain where we just don't access consciously. And that's what they trigger for us. And EMDR helps bring them up to consciousness so that we can actually deal with them and work with them.
Right. That's what we call it too as well, the emotional triggers. So, getting fast trigger anger as an adult, when your partner does something you can't understand why you get so angry, is triggering the unconscious sadness or feeling unworthy since, your childhood. So it's really important that we process that. So we did talk about that definitely childhood trauma can be helped from EMDR, and most of my clients also come to me with high anxiety. So we wanted to clear that anxiety is also helped with this process.
Even people with OCD. I've had people come with OCD, and we track it back to when did it start and what events happened. And when you clear that, the OCD just goes away.
That's great. Is there any harmful side effects or feeling afterwards? Do you feel exhausted? Do you feel groggy? Is there any backlash to doing this for a couple of hours during a day?
It definitely continues to work. So some people report feeling sluggish, have a hard time concentrating. So I never do it with people just before they go to work or have something important coming up, because your brain is still processing that in the background. So it's hard to focus, continue to work. But everybody's different. So you never know. I tell people, to have some self-care, maybe do some body work afterwards, get a massage, get some acupuncture, do some meditation, walk on the beach.
Yes, that's all good. There's other types of trauma treatments out there, like they put the electrodes on your head and you can see the machine while you're actually processing the thoughts. And of course, meditation is something my clients do, and we do capping and rewriting the story, and a lot of conscious awareness and spiritual meditations as well. What other types of treatments are you familiar with, or do you use that you like, that you feel work well?
Well, everything you named helps somebody who's going to go get EMDR treatment. Because
Okay.
if you already have the skills to do some meditation, to do some mindfulness, you're going to help yourself process your trauma even more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other trauma-based interventions that are out there would be trauma-focused CBT. So trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. It works, the study shows, it works as well as EMDR. The big difference that every study shows is that EMDR works much more quickly.
Okay.
So it takes fewer sessions before you see results. And with EMDR, you often don't have to do all the homework you do with CBT.
Okay.
So once you got things under control with CBT, you still have to work at it.
Yeah.
And with EMDR, it often goes away. And the other is exposure therapy that they'll use for single incident PTSD traumas. And again, that's so painful. It works, but you put yourself through high anxiety, a lot of disturbance in order to get better.
Okay. So explain to our clients what's the difference between a single trauma and a reoccurring trauma.
So a single incident trauma would be something like healthy, you've got secure attachment, but you have something horrendous happen, maybe a car accident, maybe you get a diagnosis, you have a dog bite, any number of things that'll set you back. And so that's a single incident, and those clear up pretty quickly, usually between 3 to 5 visits, which is also 3 to 5 hours, if you're counting on an hourly basis. Okay. But if you look at something like complex trauma, that would be ongoing trauma, more of the chronic trauma that you and I tend to see with our clients. Early on in life, they had a lot of neglect or perhaps abuse in their childhood, and that becomes complex trauma because now the way they see the world and themselves shifts completely. So they become more susceptible to trauma. They put themselves into more positions where they're exposed to trauma. And so that takes a little longer to treat.
That's correct. Yes. Very
and then
good.
You're going to need the after treatment. Once you get rid of that, they need to see somebody like you so that they want to continue, because now that they don't get triggered, they need to know what is typical and how can I respond and what does that look like, and they really
Exactly. Well, the way I met Roxanne was we shared a case, one of my clients that was working with me on a totally unrelated issue and was starting to do very well. We already had him doing the capping of the negative thoughts if they came up from childhood, and he was meditating on a daily basis and starting to do really well. And then there was this freak accident that happened that was very traumatic for him to be witnessing. And he's from out of the country. So he flew in and worked with Roxanne. And if you would like to go into that case a little bit, just because I think it's so fascinating and it worked so well for him that I was sold then on EMDR after that. So.
I was so glad you made that referral because it was a fascinating case. He helped the young man who had a horrible experience happen. And he was so traumatized that he wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping. I know when we initially spoke, you were looking for a residential treatment program for him because his symptoms were so severe.
Yeah, I was worried about him for sure.
And he came in and in one session, we spent 3.5 hours. So we spent some time getting to know each other, me finding out what had happened exactly, how we were going to process this out, explaining EMDR. And then he did a good 2.5 hours of EMDR.
Wow.
And at the end, he got his disturbance level from a 10 to a 1. And there was no way you were getting a 0 for what happened with him.
Right.
It was, and it got rid of all of the disturbing pieces, the body pieces. He was no longer feeling all the anxiety, all the depressive pieces, the sadness, the blame, the self-blame. It was all gone.
Yeah, it's quite amazing.
Go home and eat that night and sleep, which was wonderful.
Yes. And then I followed up, and this is something Roxanne and I talked about, but I went into the family's home and I did a spiritual guided meditation for him and his one sibling that they're very close, and she was helping him out with all of this. and also did some other family work because there's parents in the house. So with that and the spiritual guided meditation, he just said there was this like rush of energy through him. He goes, oh my God, I feel so much better. So I don't know what clicked, between that. And then I said, and you're going for a very deep tissue massage for an hour. So we did all this wonderful holistic treatments, and he's there. I feel amazing. I'm ready to go back. So I said, just see Roxanne one more day just to make sure, one more follow-up. And you did, and you felt, did his levels change, or was he still at the 1? Where did you feel he was when he saw you that second time?
He was still at the 1. He felt great. He told me, he confided in me that he didn't think it was going to work. He was still in shock that it worked so well. He had a little anxiety about, was it going to come back and what was it going to be like when he went back home?
Mm-hmm.
And saw some of the things that would trigger him. And so we did what's called a future template. So you process out any future anxiety as well.
Oh, great.
And he was smiling. I mean, this was somebody that when I met him, flat affect, just so quiet. You could feel the pain emanating from him.
Yeah.
And he was smiling, and he had said, can I give you a hug? And we had a nice hug. We hugged it out.
Yeah.
And, but it helped so much that he did some body work, that you did the spiritual healing with him. Those are the components that will really help somebody integrate everything that's happened.
Yeah, it was really wonderful. Yeah, we're huggers. And for my listeners, flat affect means no emotion showing on your face or in the body. You just have like zero emotion. You're not smiling, you're not crying, nothing. Yeah, like you're numb. Yeah, so I just wanted to explain that.
No, that was good, yes.
Okay, so if somebody wants EMDR, can you see them virtually or must you see them in person?
I see everybody in person. Right now, there's a big discussion within the EMDR community through EMDR, the national organization, because a lot of people are doing some over the internet. So doing it very much like you and I are communicating today.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some real advantages to that because people are in rural areas, unable to come in for therapy. And so I think if you're doing something simple, it's doable. So a single incident trauma, those types of things, or even the prep work leading up to EMDR. But really childhood memories like maybe sexual abuse by a dad or an uncle, that becomes so disturbing. Sometimes people have an overwhelming emotional reaction.
Yeah.
And how we get them through as therapists is that connection we have with somebody, that relationship, being able to make eye contact and get them through sort of to the other side of the trauma. And my fear is always, if they got too emotionally disturbed, they might grab this computer, close it down, and now I don't know what's happened with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's that safety piece that concerns me.
Right.
And being able to have that trusting relationship you need.
Yeah, it's really important. When I work with people with a childhood trauma, my VIP levels are able to text me. They can email me. They can call me. They have emergency calls, whether that's a Saturday or Sunday. So it's a very high level of service when I'm working with people of childhood trauma and anxiety and love trauma, so that they have that security, that safety. Rihanna's there if I need her. So
Absolutely.
I think that's really an important part if you're working virtually as a coach.
Absolutely. Even if you're not working virtually, we know how important that can be.
Yes.
So even Francine Shapiro in the book on EMDR mentions that the therapist really needs to be there for the client if you're doing that trauma work.
Good to know. Good to know. Now, when you treat people, is it 1 hour sessions like typical therapy, or is it like with my client, you did 3 hours? Was that just because he was flying in from another country and we didn't know how long he was going to need treatment?
A little of both.
Okay.
My preference is to do 2 hour sessions at least. And I'd rather do them twice a week if I can.
Okay.
Because in that way, you heal so much more quickly. So let's just imagine it's going to take us 10 hours of EMDR. Mm-hmm. We can get it done in 10 weeks, or we can get it done in 5 if we double up. And that gives you fun. So I often find it works so much better if you do more intensive work.
Good. Okay.
Available. It still works once a week, but if you can do it more than once a week, it can be very helpful.
Okay. And some listeners might want to know, is this something that's covered by insurance or is it a self-pay? specialty?
EMDR is covered by insurance. There are EMDR therapists out there who take insurance. I'm self-pay. I don't take any insurance at this time.
Right. And it's the same as me, Roxanne, because when we're specialists in an area, we're high demand. So in order to get us and the level of service, I know you were checking in on my client. I was checking in on him at night, first thing in the morning when he returned back to his country.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just our level of service is so superior that we don't work with insurance at this point because we are more concerned about our client and getting the absolutely ideal top level of service that they really need and deserve to have.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. And what should someone look for when they're choosing their EMDR therapist? Is there different levels of therapists that we should be aware of?
Yes, there are different levels of the EMDR therapist. And number one is you want to make sure that they're EMDR approved, that they received training from an EMDR approved course, because there are plenty of people out there who will read a book and claim that they're an EMDR therapist. And that's not somebody you want.
Right.
You want somebody that went through the whole training. And then that would just, after the training, you're an approved therapist for EMDR. But the next level, you can find a therapist who's certified, which means that they've had another 20 hours of consultation, and they've also taken more advanced coursework in order to do EMDR. So they're going to have more experience to be able to work with you. And then the next level above that is a consultant. And so that's the person who actually can help others become certified. An EMDR therapist is a consultant.
Okay, perfect. So anyone in the Palm Beach County or Broward County area of Florida, where we both live, if they would like to work with you, how can they find you?
One simple way is to Google Roxanne and EMDR, and I pop up.
Okay.
The second, they can email me at EMDRRox, so it's EMDRRox @gmail.com.
Okay.
Or they can also, you can actually get my cell phone number online. It's that easy these days. I think we're all maybe too available.
Okay, perfect. And what last words of wisdom what would you like to leave for our listeners?
I would really tell people it's never too late to get therapy. A lot of people feel it's from childhood or they lived this way this long, they might as well forget it. And I say it's never too late to be happy and healthy and enjoy your life.
I agree. Don't wait. And especially it can change everything. How you're feeling about yourself, your life today, bring more value into your love relationships. So it's important to get help. Don't suffer in silence.
No,
and
sure.
Just make sure you get someone who's very well certified and experienced at the level that Roxanne is, because I am just so grateful that you are able to help my young man who's such a great person with an incredible love and potential from, in his heart and potential to help the world in many ways. And we just wanted to get him beyond this trauma that he experienced. And together we were a great team. So I really wanted to thank you for that.
He did a great job. He did some hard work there.
Yes. Yes. So again, that's Roxanne Grobbel, and we thank you so much for being with us. I'll make sure all your credentials are in the show notes, and how to contact her should be right on this tape. But if you're listening to the podcast audio, just look at the show notes. Thank you very much, and everyone have a beautiful day. Okay, love angels and transformers, that is all we have time for today. I want to thank Roxanne Grobbel, licensed counselor, social work, and EMDR expert, for being on today and clarifying how well EMDR works for those who have experienced ongoing trauma, past trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and so much more. I appreciate you sharing the love and the mission of changing the way the world loves by simply sharing this show link with those you love and care about. While you're in the show, please give it a 5-star rating and some comments and tell us what you liked about the show. And also, while you're there, you can recommend a subject that you would like me to cover in an upcoming show. Remember, you can reach out to me anytime during the week at rianamilne.com and sign up for that private Life and Love Transformation Discovery session. While on the website, you can also take the free love test and download the free chapters of Live and Love Beyond Your Dreams. Also, do download the free ebook at havetheloveyoudeserve.com. That's havetheloveyoudeserve.com. which will go more into the childhood trauma dynamics. And as always, I am here to help you have that life that you desire and attract the love that you deserve. Have a beautiful day and a very blessed week.
We want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Lessons in Life and Love with Coach Riana Milne. Go to RianaMilne.com for more resources. And if you're really ready to take action to improve your life or love situation, apply now for a session with Riana. And remember, it's time to have the life you desire and the love you deserve.